everybody. Today is August 15 and we are live from Dubai. Once again, this is the final session before midnight because tomorrow is Sunday holiday, so we have enough time. We are going to live again. This is the third session, and we are live once again. You can send me your questions, you can send me your feedback, you can send me your what is this, comments in the comment section. You can appreciate me or even you can criticize me. I'm here. Always welcome to all of my viewers from all over the world. People are watching our live from Asia, from Africa, from Middle East, from Americas, from South, from Europe, everywhere. Everybody is welcome. So whoever is watching, if you like our live, if you want to support, you can send me your feedback or appreciation here in the comments. So now I'm gonna read some latest news again so that we can feed our live for 1 hour. If you are not sending any questions, any comments, of course I have to read some news or something for commentary, and I have to feed my live with commentary as it is requirement from YouTube. New rules and regulations. All YouTube channels creators should be facing camera with real face, with commentary, real commentary. No more what is this? No more AI, no more machine generated, no more fake content, no more copy paste content. So that's why we are hitting back hard on YouTube, new rules and regulations. So now we are gonna have some news details from Daily Sabah. Daily Sabah is a newspaper from Turkey, Istanbul. Let's see the first news here. Also about Indonesia. Massive 7.7 earthquake kills 838, triggers landslides in Indonesia. The next is Iran tells the US to accept defeat amid Strait of Hormuz blockade. Iran called on the US to accept defeat Saturday as President Trump described Tehran as very evil and warned Americans to brace for continued high fuel price as the war drags on. Progress towards peace talks and the resumption of oil tanker traffic through the strategic Strait of Hormuz remained stalled with no clear indications that either side was moving toward ending the conflict launched by the US and Israel on February 28th. This strait will be opened and closed only under Iran's command. Both Iran and USA don't want to solve the issue. Everyone is just making problem for the world, for the Middle East, for the Asia, for Africa. Everyone is suffering actually. Everyone is suffering due to this war and closing a Strait of Hormuz. But anyway, we can't do anything. This strait will be opened and closed only under Iran's command. And so long as you do not accept the reality of defeat and stop indulging in fantasies, Iran will continue to enforce the blockade. Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Gharibabadi said in a post on X early Saturday. US gasoline prices rise 29% as Iran feels economic pressure. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran had not decided whether to resume negotiation with Washington. In an interview with Iranian news outlet Sharara News, what is this Sharara News? Published on Saturday, he said the US would have to meet Iran's conditions. We are just reading the news from Daily Sabah. Daily Sabah is the official newspaper from Turkey, Istanbul. I want to visit Turkey as soon as possible. I have Turkey flag also here. This is Turkey flag. Turkey is a beautiful country. Istanbul is a beautiful city, of course. And we want to visit Istanbul. We want to see the city of cats. Istanbul also called the city of cats. There are so many cats in the streets, in the houses, in the markets, everywhere. You will see the cats everywhere. That's why it's called the city of cats. Anyway, we are gonna read now news from the Daily Sabah, and it says that in an interview with Iranian news outlet Sharara News published Saturday, he said the US would have to meet Iran's conditions regarding the Strait of Hormuz before shipping could resume through the vital waterway, which handled about 1/5 of the world's oil supplies before the war. Trump, meanwhile, urged Americans to accept higher gasoline prices as the conflict continues, warning that the disruption caused by the war could keep fuel costs elevated. He told a political rally in Garden City, New York on Friday that paying a tiny little bit more for your gasoline was worth the cost of ensuring a very evil country could not have a nuclear weapon, one of the president's stated rationales for the war. In a trend that has fueled inflation and disappointed voters, the average US price of a gallon of gasoline was about $4.08 on Friday, up 29% from a year earlier, according to the American Automobile Association. Trump, a Republican campaign for re-election. Trump, a Republican, campaigned for re-election on a promise to lower energy costs, and Democrats are seeking to make the war's fallout an issue in November's congressional elections. Crude oil futures rose $1 a barrel Friday. Benchmark Brent futures were on track for a weekly gain of 60%, while West Texas Intermediate was up 5.4%. The Strait of Hormuz cannot be seized by a tweet or any aircraft carrier, by issuing an order or by delivering an election speech, Garibabadi said. Despite Iran's defiant tone, though there were signs of an economic toll there as well, President Masoud Pezeshkian, in remarks on state television, blamed high inflation on a U.S. blockade of Iranian ports and sanctions on Iran's oil exports. No crude oil vessels transiting strait. Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent each pledged to inflict more financial damage on Iran. Bessent told Newsmax Tonight program Thursday that announcements of additional measures against Iran were coming next week. Tehran calls its enforcement of state traffic a blockade, the term Washington uses for its threat against Iranian vessels leaving their ports. What we are doing is a great service for the world, not only for ourselves, and we are really doing a great job, Trump said, adding that a 260-day deployment by a U.S. aircraft carrier supporting the war effort was not nearly long enough. Only 2 vessels passed through the Strait of Hormuz Friday with no crude oil shipments visible, according to an analysis by ship tracking firm Kepler. Some ships may cross the strait undetected with their transponders turned off, but the figures are nowhere near the more than 130 ships that traversed it daily before the war. Vessels that navigate the strait without Iranian permission risk missile or drone strikes. The UAE Abu Dhabi National Oil Company ADNOC said 2 of its vessels were attacked while transiting the strait Thursday evening, and the Emirati State News Agency WAM reported that another vessel came under attack Friday. A bulk carrier was struck in the hull by an unknown projectile in the Strait of Hormuz on Friday, the UK Maritime Trade Operations Center said Saturday, adding that the crew was safe. No damage assessment had been reported, and the environmental impact was unknown. A tentative June deal to end the war is in tatters. We did not have a ceasefire in the first place that we would now want to extend, AFRiCA said. We had the end of the war, and now there is a new situation. Attacked by Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen, renewed concerns about a widening regional war. Yemen's internationally recognized government said the Houthis fired 6 ballistic missiles at the Red Sea port of Mocha on Friday, killing 4 civilians. The Houthi-run Saba news agency cited a military source as saying the group had targeted an Aramco facility in the Saudi city of Najran with a drone. So this is the news from Middle East. White House Press Secretary Carolina Levitt to step down. Turkish Cypriot diaspora has numbers and now it's time to organize. We are reading the Daily Sabah newspaper from Istanbul, Turkey. So Erdogan marks 25 years of AK party, vows to press ahead. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan marked the 25th anniversary of the ruling Justice and Development Party AK party on Friday by highlighting Turkey's transformation in defense, infrastructure and public services over the past quarter century, while pledging that the party would not slow its push for further change. Speaking at celebration commemorating the party's foundation on August 14, 2001, Erdogan said the AK party had entered its second quarter century after delivering on 90% of the commitments, including in its party programs and election manifestos. Let no one expect us to grow tired, Erdogan said, stressing that despite what he described as major achievement over the past 25 years, the party's work was far from finished. Erdogan pointed to Turkey's expanding domestic defense industry as one of the most significant change under successive AK party governments, saying the country had gone from importing even infantry rifles to producing its own warships, unmanned aerial vehicles, helicopters, tanks, missiles and submarines. He also highlighted investments in the economy, healthcare, education and transportation, describing them as some of the largest projects undertaken in Turkey's history. Erdogan said the government led by his party had used both their electoral mandate and public resources to expand the economy, promote development and strengthen the country. Recalling the AK party's establishment, Erdogan said the movement was founded under the message closed to darkness, open to light, alongside the pledge that political authority and decision making belong to the people. Today is a very special and historic day, he said. We are making our 25th anniversary with great pride. The president also cited the lifting of restrictions on women wearing headscarves in universities, schools and public institutions, as well as the abolition of a university admissions coefficient system that had disadvantaged vocational school graduates. Erdogan pointed to the reopening of Hagia Sophia for Muslim worship in 2020. Erdogan pointed to the reopening of Hagia Sophia for Muslim worship in 2020 as another pledge fulfilled during the party's time in government. The landmark had operated as a museum for decades before being redesignated as a mosque. Turning to Turkey's political system, Erdogan said the presidential system of government had addressed what he described as the country's long-standing problem of instability in governance. Turkey formally transitioned from a parliamentary system to an executive presidency in 2018 following a 2017 constitutional referendum. Erdogan also thanked the AK party's partners in the People's Alliance, which he said was forged during the failed July 15, 2016 coup attempt, for continuing to work together for Turkey's future and security. He separately thanked the Nationalist Movement Party chair Devlet for sending flowers to mark the anniversary and expressed appreciation to other political party leaders who conveyed their congratulations by telephone or message. The AK party was founded under Erdogan's leadership on August 14, 2001 and first came to power after winning the November 2002 general elections. It has since remained the dominant force in Turkish politics, with Erdogan serving first as Prime Minister and later as President. So this is news from Turkey. Turkey's Ankara cats go live 24/7 to protect rare breed. Turkey is a cat-friendly city. Istanbul is a city of cats. So this news also regarding cats. Turkey's Ankara cats go live 24/7 to protect rare breed. At the Ankara Cat Protection, Preservation and Promotion Center, efforts are underway to protect and sustain the purebred Ankara cat through specialized care and breeding, while the cat's daily lives are broadcast live around the clock. Operated by Kalar municipality, the center provides special care for purebred Ankara cats recognized by the World Cat Federation. Known in Europe as the Angora cat, the Ankara cat is distinguished by its unique characteristics and is considered one of the oldest long-haired cat breed. Let me save this news. This is a very beautiful news for the future. Too much, but Turkey has Ankara cat. Okay. So known in Europe as the Angora cat, the Ankara cat is distinguished by its unique characteristics and is considered one of the oldest long-haired cat breed. The breed, which is considered at risk of disappearing, is kept under protection at the center where its long glossy coat is among its most recognizable features. Spread across an area of about 2,000 square meters, the facility consists of 7 sections, 2,000 square meters, huge facility. The facility consists of 7 sections. 8 cameras allow viewers to watch the cats daily live 24 hours a day, capturing scenes from the courtyard, sleeping quarter, rest area, and feeding spaces. The live broadcasts available on the municipality's online viewing platform show the cats sleeping, eating, resting, and wandering around the courtyard. Kursklar Mayor Ertugrul Satin said the facility was established to raise awareness of Ankara cats and help ensure the continuation of the breed. Calling off the facility the cat house, Satin said the municipality began broadcasting the cats' lives online around the clock. He said the idea gained momentum after Ankara cats were introduced to foreign delegations during the NATO summit held in Ankara, drawing positive reaction and questions about the environment in which the animals live. We hosted the NATO summit in Ankara last month to showcase Ankara's culture. We introduced our Ankara cats to foreign delegations. After they asked what kind of environment the cats live in, we thought we could open their natural lives to those who were curious. We placed cameras inside their enclosures and made it possible for people to watch them 24/7. According to CTN, the live broadcasts attracted more than 736,500 viewers in 1 week, with audience tuning in from 27 countries. Of course, viewers from cities across Turkey are watching, but we have also had people following the broadcast from 24 different countries. It makes us incredibly happy to promote our country and Ankara through such a beautiful initiative. That's great. Ankara cat is a beautiful cat breed. So we almost complete our 20 minutes of recording. The remaining 40 minutes. Okay, let's see the next news. We are reading the news from Daily Sabah. It's a official newspaper from Turkey. Let's see the next news Farage returns to UK Parliament after unusual special election. What is this? Turkish Red Crescent launch prosthesis project for Gaza amputees. The next news is Trump says US will claim state of Hormuz after Iran war. What the hell is this Trump? Saudi Crown Prince and CENTCOM chief discuss regional tensions. Let's see this news. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held talks with US Central Command Chief Admiral Brad Cooper on Thursday, focusing on efforts to ease regional tensions and strengthen defense cooperation between Riyadh and Washington, according to Saudi state media. The meeting comes amid heightened regional tensions, with Saudi Arabia increasingly focused on preventing the conflict surrounding Iran from spilling further across the Gulf. Disruption in the Strait of Hormuz and continued friction between Washington and Tehran have raised concerns over maritime security and energy flows through one of the world's most important shipping routes. Security concerns have also intensified on Saudi Arabia's southern flank. Iran-aligned Houthi forces recently targeted a Saudi Aramco refinery in Jazan with a drone, while renewed fighting in Yemen has fueled fears of a broader escalation after years of relative calm. Riyadh has simultaneously moved to broaden its regional defense partnerships. Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan signed the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement last week, establishing a collective defense framework and plans for closer political and military coordination. Cooper, a head of CENTCOM, oversees U.S. military operations across the Middle East, putting his talks with the Saudi Crown Prince against the backdrop of Washington's military posture toward Iran and its wider security commitments in the Gulf. So this is news from Saudi Arabia. TRNC leaders commemorate Turkish Cypriot killed in 1974. Turkish officials highlight Erdogan leadership as AK party turns 25. Turkish Parliament Speaker stressed law on PKK balanced, well received. Pakistani Consul General calls for stronger business ties with Turkey. Let's see this news. Business partnerships should complement the strong political relations between Turkey and Pakistan. Khwaja Khurram Naim, the Consul General of Pakistan in Istanbul, said on Thursday, also pointing to the potential of the Pakistan economy and a push to encourage investment and growth. We strongly believe the government-to-government cooperation must be complemented by the robust business-to-business engagement, Naim said in an address to the Global Excellence Award ceremony organized by the Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industries (ICCI) in Istanbul. हाँ? आधा घंटा और सही है Starting his speech, the Consul General noted that the close relationship between Turkey and Pakistan, two brotherly countries, is based on a shared history, mutual trust, and a common vision for economic prosperity. He added that the business forum provided an important opportunity to further strengthen commercial and investment ties between the two nations, pointing to positive development in the Pakistan's economy. Naim said the Islamabad government has taken important steps to encourage investment and create a more business-friendly environment. The government's commitment to gradually reducing the corporate tax rate to a more competitive level demonstrates the determination to encourage investment and economic growth. He also went on to highlight the potential for regional cooperation involving Turkey, Pakistan, and Central Asia amid the changing geopolitical landscape. Naim said Pakistan has particularly significant potential in the textile and ready-made garments sectors, while also noting that the country has extensive production capacity and a young population. So sustainable economic growth can only be achieved through active cooperation between the private sectors of both countries, reciprocal visits, and the establishment of long-term partnership, he said. NIME invited business representatives to explore new opportunities, forge new connections, and develop mutually beneficial partnerships through the forum. In his speech, Naim also thanked all the institutions that contributed to organizing the event, particularly the Islamabad Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Istanbul Chamber of Commerce (ITO) and other Turkish partners, and expressed hope that economic activities between Pakistan and Turkey would continue to grow stronger. At the event, the business leaders recalled that the current bilateral trade volume between Turkey and Pakistan of around $1.2 billion is relatively modest and urged for more steps, including more business-to-business meetings and reciprocal visits to elevate the cooperation. Packed cars, burning houses, Armenians leave occupied Azerbaijan lands. What is this? What is this news? Let's see this news. There are only pictures. US demands Netanyahu condemn terrorist settlers in West Bank. Let's see this news. The United States is pressing Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to publicly condemn Israeli settlers accused of besieging Palestinian families inside their homes in the occupied West Bank village of Qasra, according to US and Israeli officials cited by Reuters. The pressure comes after nearly a week of escalating tensions in Qasra, south of Nablus, where settlers established an unauthorized outpost near three Palestinian homes around August 9 or 10. Residents said the settlers blocked roads and entrance, disrupted water and electricity supplies, and restricted their ability to leave their properties or receive assistance. The United Nations said about 15 Palestinians, including 2 children, were trapped inside the homes without running water or electricity. Families described dwindling supplies of food and water, fear and isolation, with some relying on well water, temporary solar power, and sporadic aid deliveries. The confrontation has drawn particular attention in Washington because of one of the affected properties belonged to a Palestinian American living in Ohio. His relatives, including his brother and a teenager nephew, were among those trapped inside. A U.S. official and an Israeli official, both speaking on condition of anonymity, said White House officials have urged Netanyahu to publicly denounce the settlers' actions. A stable West Bank keeps Israel secure and is in line with this administration's goal to achieve peace in the region, a White House official. Netanyahu has not publicly commented on the Qasra confrontation. His office did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The unusually direct U.S. pressure comes as Washington tries to balance its long-standing support for Israel with concerns about growing settler violence and instability in the West Bank. U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee, a strong supporter of Israeli settlements, issued an unusually harsh public condemnation on August 13. He described the settlers involved as Israeli terrorists and called their actions a horrific act of terror meant to intimidate and harass this family. Huckabee also called the conduct disgusting, criminal, and thuggish, saying there was no excuse for it. He said the U.S. Embassy had been very involved in the case and that the Israel Defense Forces and Israeli police had responded at the embassy request to remove what he called Israeli terrorists and illegal trespassers. We almost recorded half an hour, and the remaining half an hour we are going to record. Huckabee later sought to distinguish the small group involved in Qasra from the broader Israeli settler movement, saying the problem was a small minority of lawbreakers and praising settler leaders who condemned the actions. The situation remained tense Friday. Reuters footage showed settlers near a blue tent outside one of the homes, with one man throwing stones towards the village. Israeli soldiers later arrived and removed the tent. The Israeli military said civilians had erected the tent and that soldiers had intervened to remove it while protecting local residents. The military had earlier declared the area as closed military zone and deployed additional forces. In some cases, Palestinian families were ordered to temporarily leave their homes while soldiers occupied their properties during operations. Reports also describe clashes, including incidents in which Israeli forces used tear gas or stun grenades against settlers. Earlier video showed men wearing military-style clothing praying alongside settlers. The military said it was taking disciplinary action over the conduct. Activists, including Israeli and foreign nationals, have tried to deliver food, water, and other supplies to the trapped families. Access has sometimes been restricted by the military, although limited transfers of aid were allowed. Residents said settlers' activity remained visible around the village and that they continue to fear being forced from their homes. Palestinian residents and side and rights groups say the confrontation is not an isolated incident but part of a broader campaign intended to drive Palestinian families from their land and allow settlers to expand their control over strategically important areas. Similar tactics have been reported in nearby communities, including Jalud. Kasra sits in an area where settlers have sought to establish and connect unauthorized outposts with larger settlements. So, next it says that the West Bank was captured by Israel in the 1967 Middle East War and is home to roughly 3 million Palestinians and more than 500,000 Israeli settlers. Israel has built nearly 150 settlements across the territory, while settlers have also established hundreds of unauthorized outposts. Many of the authorized settlements have developed into large communities with apartment buildings, shopping centers, schools, parks, and industrial areas. Unauthorized outposts, meanwhile, can begin with little more than temporary structures, but have often expanded over time. Netanyahu government, widely regarded as the most nationalist and religious in Israel history, has strongly backed settlement expansion. Its ministers have celebrated the establishment or restoration of settlements, including the rebuilding of one that was dismantled in 2005 during Israel's withdrawal from Gaza. So we now moving toward 35 minutes, remaining 25 minutes only. Israel says Jews have a historic and biblical connection to the West Bank and argues that maintaining a presence there is important to the country's security. Most of the international community considers Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank illegal under international law and regarded their expansion as a major obstacle to a negotiated Israel-Palestinian peace agreement. Israel rejected that legal interpretation. The roughly 3 million Palestinians living in the West Bank remain under Israeli military rule. Although the Palestinian Authority exercises limited self-government in population centers, Israeli forces operate throughout the territory. While Israeli settlers are subject to Israeli civilian law, the different legal systems have drawn accusation of systematic discrimination from major human rights organizations, some of which have characterized Israeli rule in the West Bank as apartheid. Israel rejects that characterization. The Kasra Confederation has also exposed a long-running dispute over who should enforce Israeli law against settlers accused of violence. Defense Minister Israel Katz said Friday that he wanted law enforcement responsibilities involving Israeli settlers to be transferred fully to the Israeli police. He has previously said Israeli civilians should not be subject to administrative detention, a measure that Israel has also used against Palestinians and in some cases Jewish extremists. Katz, the military's primary responsibility was fighting Palestinian militants and protecting Israel's borders and settlements, rather than pursuing what he called boys on the hills. The Israeli military has nevertheless said the actions in Qasra were illegal, reprehensible, and unacceptable. It said troops had dismantled 2 outposts in the area and detained 1 Israeli. Rights groups argue that Israeli authorities have frequently failed to hold settlers accountable for violence against Palestinians. Israeli rights organization Yash Din says about 94% of investigations into settlers' violence since 2005 ended without an indictment, while only about 3% resulted in full or partial convictions. Settler violence has intensified since the October 7, 2023 Hamas-led attacks on the Israel that triggered the war in Gaza. The administration of President Joe Biden imposed sanctions on some settlers and Israeli organizations accused of violence against Palestinians. Several other Western governments later announced sanctions against hardline Israeli ministers, including National Security Minister Ben Gvir and Finance Minister Smotrich, accusing them of encouraging extremist violence. President Trump re-signed the U.S. sanctions after returning to office for a second term and appointed Huckabee, a prominent supporter of Israeli settlements, as ambassador to Israel. Trump's administration has continued to maintain close ties with Netanyahu's government, while the White House has also emphasized the need for regional stability and a broader peace agreement. For Netanyahu, the Qasra confrontation carries a complicated political cost. Israel is expected to hold elections around October, and Netanyahu relies on support from powerful members of his right-wing coalition who have long advocated expanding settlements and strengthening Israeli control over the West Bank. A public condemnation of the settlers could anger those allies. At the same time, continued violence and disorder in the West Bank could deepen criticism of Netanyahu's government, including over its ability to enforce Israeli law against Jewish extremists. Opposition politicians have accused the government of allowing lawlessness to spread. Gadi, a former senior military commander and prominent Netanyahu rival, criticized the government's handling of Qasra, accusing it of weakening military commanders while confronting anarchy and violent law-breaking by an extremist minority. Eisenkot has also opposed proposal to annex the West Bank, yet he had said he supports Israeli settlements that he believes serve Israel's interests and has stopped short of openly advocating for a Palestinian state. Another Netanyahu rival, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, has also condemned the violence while maintaining his support for the settlement movements. Precisely as some who believes in our right to the land and in the settlement enterprise, we need to denounce this and eradicate the violence from within our own ranks, Bennett said in an interview with Israeli media. Turkey prepares for Islam's holy month of Ramadan. In pictures. From factory to museum, Turkey's Ayalik cultural route. Saudi Arabia reaffirms support for Iraq's security and stability. President Erdogan and DAM party delegation to meet after framework law. Mystery illness raises alarm as elephants die in northern Kenya. Let's see this news from Africa. Lying on the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust, the elephant slowly exhausted himself in futile attempts to stand, the latest potential victim of a still mysterious ailment in southern Kenya. Distressed vets administered a glucose injection, the only option given that the cause of the ailment remains unknown, to the 11-year-old male known as the Genghis Khan, who was struggling to breathe. The mystery affliction has killed at least 19, mostly females or young males, since June in Kenya, with all of the animals exhibiting identical symptoms, including partial paralysis. Elephants' herds have made Amboseli overlooked by Africa's highest peak, Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, a lucrative tourist hotspot, and the mysterious deaths in the region are a sensitive issue in a country where tourism is a huge source of revenue. You would find one struggling for a day, struggling for 2 or even 3 days, until they completely die, said Patrick Papiti, head of operations for Olgaluli communal lands, which includes the Kitenden Bee Reserve where Genghis Khan was found. In late July, the Kenya Wildlife Service said toxicology reports found high concentration of cyanidine in the animal's carcass, suggesting possible pesticide poisoning from nearby farm crops. While observers still question the possible cause of death, several specialists interviewed by Agence France Presse dismissed poisoning. It's a disease, said Papatiti, who was born and raised in the local Maasai community, insisting that there was no way Sandy was involved. He is one of the very few local voices publicly rejecting the KWS preliminary findings, pointing out that no other animals have died. Notably, neither scavenger nor flies that fed on the supposedly poisoned carcass have perished. Creatures that typically come after consuming poisoned animals. If another animal feeds on that carcass and it is not dying, then definitely it is not a chemical. Joel, the Amboseli ecosystem manager for the Kajiado Country Authority, he dismisses the theory also put forward by the KWS that the Sinde might have come from a type of foliage, noting local livestock would have died as well. So we are just now completing 45 minutes and the remaining 15 minutes only to close our live. This is our final live today. As wildlife managers, we believe it could be a disease that is only affecting these elephants. On August 7, the KWS said their findings to date do not indicate an infectious or transmissible disease, assuring tourists that they could continue to visit. But in Kimana Reserve, journalists saw 6 carcasses on Wednesday, some fresh, other older, with rangers also observing partial paralysis, preventing the Okay, let's see the next news. From buyer to builder, 25 years that changed Turkey's defense ministry. That's interesting. Baker tops list of highest taxpayer in Turkey. Turkey's Khan aircraft power system developer targets new. What is this? Turkey's Khan aircraft power system developer targets new platforms. Okay, what is this? Turkish engineering and defense tech company Volt Technology is looking to expand its domestically developed aircraft electrical power generation systems to additional national aviation platforms. Its top executive said Tuesday that plan follows the Volt's successful development of the main power system for Turkey's indigenous fifth generation Khan fighter jet, with the new projects now underway for the Harjit Advanced Jet Trainer and multi-role utility helicopter. The Western Izmir-based company, one of a limited number of manufacturers worldwide capable of developing aircraft main power generation system, has already adapted the technology developed for Khan to Hercules trainer aircraft. Development work continues for Harjit and Gobe. Volt Technology General Manager Tutan told Anadolu agency. Aircraft main power generation systems, which include generators, alternators, and control units, provide continuous electrical power for onboard systems and are considered critical for flight safety and mission performance. So the development without reverse engineering, developed without reverse engineering. Walt said it began work on Khan's indigenous power generation system about 4 years ago, developing the product from scratch without copying or reverse engineering an existing design. The company said the system's architecture, control algorithm, and electromagnetic design were created entirely through domestic engineering expertise before undergoing design validation, environmental and functional testing, electromagnetic compatibilities assessments, and integration and certification. The system was used during Khan's taxi tests and maiden-flight campaign. Building on the engineering experience gained through the Khan program, Volt has completed research and development work on to adapt the system for the Arcos aircraft and has started releasing this. The company is also developing next-generation electrical power generation systems tailored to different performance and power requirements of the Gobe. Only a handful of companies can do this. Tutan said Volt was established to develop advanced technologies, bring them into serial production, and support Turkey's indigenous defense program. Our most important achievement has been the alternator, generator, and control units we developed for the national fighter Khan. As a result of our R&D activities, research and development activities since 2020, Khan completed its taxi tests and first flight using our products. We succeeded in developing a product that had never before been produced in Turkey and that perhaps only 5 companies worldwide are capable of manufacturing. Tutan said the company supplies the generator and control unit that provide electrical power to Khan's onboard system. We produce the generator that provides Khan's electrical power together with its control units. We are just 10 minutes away to close our lives. So we produce the generator that provides Khan's electrical power together with its control unit. We power all the electrical systems, the heart of the aircraft that require electrical power. Tutan said their products has successfully fulfilled the expected functions in the tests. However, he said their in-flight trials are still ongoing. The product we have developed is a high-tech product. Only 5 companies in the world are capable of manufacturing such a product, and providing this product with that level of technology requires significant infrastructure. We are currently able to provide this infrastructure. Supporting exports. Tutan said World aims to equip Turkey's growing fleet of domestically developed aircraft, including unmanned aerial vehicles, helicopters, and fixed-wing aircraft, with locally produced electrical power systems to eliminate foreign dependence. We have the capability to customize products in different kilowatt ratings and sizes of those platforms. Our main objective is to reduce dependence on foreign suppliers to zero. He added that using domestically developed subsystems on aircraft exported abroad would both reduce external dependency and make exports easier by minimizing reliance on imported components. So this is the technology news from Turkey. Turkey has developed its own fighter jet, Khan. Turkey and Egypt are stronger measures for Gaza, vows to boost cooperation. Yemen's Houthis claim drone attack on Saudi Arabia. From Khan to Mecca Pact, Turkey's aerospace strategy takes shape. Wow. Turkey is combining Khan defense and production partnership to build a stronger autonomous security strategy. The aviation and aerospace sector is one of the key areas in which global powers are engaged in intense competition for technological and strategic supremacy. We are just 7 minutes almost away. So indeed, from a military history perspective, the allies who achieved air superiority in World War I and II emerged as the victors. During the Cold War, the competition for air superiority between NATO and the Warsaw Pact marked the beginning of a new era, followed by the Vietnam War, the Arab-Israeli conflicts, and finally the 1991 Gulf War. Today, the competition between 5th and 6th generation fighter jets continues at full speed. In this context, the Russia-Ukraine war, the US-Israel-Iran war, the brief Pakistan-India war, and new aerial battles supported by beyond visual range missiles and intelligence systems have demonstrated that the wars of the future will be very different. Turkey, which possesses NATO's second largest military force, faced arms embargoes following the 1974 Cyprus peace separation. In response, it adopted a new strategic doctrine, and though its national aerospace industry, including the Turkish aerospace industry, Thai engine industries, aircraft engine factory, achieved significant gains in a short period. In this context, Turkish aerospace industry produced a total of 308 F-16 fighter jets between 1987 and 2012 and sold 46 units to the Egyptian Air Force. As a strategic continuation of this accumulated know-how and in response to evolving aerospace technologies, Turkey has on the one hand joined the F-35 fifth generation fighter jet project as a production partner alongside the United States, placing order for 100 F-35s and 25 short takeoff vertical landing F-35s and commissioning the TCG Anadolu aircraft carrier. Wow! Of the 550 aircraft produced for the US military, 7% of the critical mid-fuse and flight control components were manufactured by Turkey. However, due to dispute with the US Congress over the procurement and co-production licenses for Patriot surface-to-air missile system with Turkey needed to meet its urgent air defense requirements, the US imposed an embargo on NATO ally Turkey under CATSA sanctions, following Turkey's purchase of S-400 air defense missile from Russia. As a result, the delivery of 6 Turkish F-35 fighter jets has been withheld. Designed Khan fighter jets P prototype. Designed and developed in accordance with the requirements of the Turkish Air Force Command, the National Fighter Jet project saw Khan make its maiden flight on February 21, 2024. The Khan ensures air superiority through the extended air-to-air combat range, enhanced by new weapons, precise and direct hits from internal weapon bays at high and supersonic speeds, and combat power augmented by artificial intelligence and neural network support. Developed with a twin engine architecture, the aircraft is capable of performing both air-to-air and air-to-ground missions. Meanwhile, through bilateral negotiations with the Trump administration and the Pentagon aimed at seeking a legal and military solution to the S-400 crisis, while also working toward the lifting of CATSA sanctions, an agreement was reached at the NATO summit in Ankara. The agreement includes the sale of 80 F-110 jet engines valued at $700 million, needing to meet Turkey's target of receiving the first 20 Khan aircraft by 2030. Recently, the Khan fighter jet completed the pre-flight taxi test of its latest prototype, marking a significant milestone. The P-1 prototype features redesigned air intake and a nose-mounted active electronically scanned array radar, along with domestically produced electronic warfare system. Radio frequency band gaps have also been integrated into the vertical tails to enhance the aircraft's stealth capabilities while preparing it for network-centric air combats. In addition, the distance between the two engines has been increased. The landing gear reinforced with a wider stance, and the wing and tail geometries optimized to reduce the aircraft's radar signature. In this context, it is planned that the Khan fighter jet will operate alongside domestic unmanned combat aerial vehicles such as the Ankara 3 as part of the K-SWAM concept in future phases. Turkey's response to conflicts. Turkey is closely monitoring both the changing strategic parameters of air power and the ongoing conflicts in the Black Sea and the Persian Gulf, as well as the efforts of the Israel-Greek separate administration tripartite alliance, Israel-Greece separate alliance to establish Israel, Greece, and Greek separate administration tripartite alliance to establish air superiority in the Aegean and Eastern Mediterranean regions. In response to EU-backed Athens' use of the Iran war as a pretext to deploy fighter jets to the Aegean island and Cyprus, Turkey has deployed 6 F-16s to the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Against the backdrop of efforts by Israeli and Greek lobbies in the US Congress to sabotage Turkey's return to F-35 program, the cooperation between President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and the US President Trump, as well as their efforts to maintain a diplomatic balance within NATO, has come to the force. However, Turkey's second surprise move was brought to life through the Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan Makkah Defense Agreement. President Erdogan stated that the agreement, which also reaffirms the right to self-defense as defined in Article 51 of the UN Charter, does not target any specific country and is open to the participation of all brotherly nations aiming to ensure peace, prosperity, and security in the region. Given that agreement is a defense-focused arrangement aimed not only at the three countries' commitments to supporting each other's security, but also at developing defense industry cooperation, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia are expected to join the Khan project following Malaysia's participation. My third critical observation is that Turkey's NATO membership and its regional partnership are not alternatives to one another, but rather complementary structures that enables the sharing of the security burden. Indeed, just as Turkey signed an agreement with NATO member Spain for the Harjit training aircraft, the joint production of the Khan fighter jet remain on the table. In this context, the Turkish Air Force 181 Pars F-16 squadron is carrying out important missions in the Baltic region as part of NATO's air policing mission. So we already completed 1 hour. There is a long news. As can be seen, Turkey, as NATO's second largest military, is modernizing its air power through a patient, planned and careful policy in the face of evolving security and defense threats. Indeed, the recent NATO summit in Ankara highlighted the significant contributions of Turkey's defense and aerospace sectors to the Euro-Atlantic security architecture. Ultimately, Turkey continues to move forward with steady steps towards Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's vision that the future is in the skies. Finally, we completed 1 hour recording, and now it's time to close our live. Also, it's midnight here in Dubai, so see you tomorrow. We are going to close now our YouTube live.